get off this subject. Let's wrap up this show with our movie review. Yay! Happy times.
Woo, yeah.
I
All
know.
right.
Yeah, we went dark. We went dark. Very dark. We went dark and
Well,
we forgot our headlamps. But let's get into let's get into our movie review, which is the Disney movie Big Hero 6, based off the Marvel comics. It's about a young boy named Hiro Hamada, I believe, and he lives in the alternate universe San Francisco. It's like, imagine if it's
is this in the universe of Man on the High Castle, where
I know, right?
the
Where like,
Japanese
yeah,
took over,
where the
Japanese
invasion,
took over
where
the
the
West
Japanese
Coast?
invasion of America actually happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I kept thinking the entire time I was watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, that is one of the theories that was going around on the internet. It's like, it's like, oh, it's like, is this the universe where the Japanese invasion of America was successful? Um, but yes, yeah, it's a story about a young boy who's a genius, and he is very gifted in robotics, and his older brother is constantly encouraging him to put his gifts to better use, and entices him to enroll in the technical university that he attends, and is successful in doing so. But through the way he gets him to apply is through this showcase that the school puts on. Where the best and brightest come and show off their best inventions, and Hero creates these things called microbots, and he's able to control it with his mind, and they're able to do all sorts of amazing things, like build or become kind of like one of those conveyor belt things, and it's amazing.
Whatever his mind imagines,
Right, whatever his mind can imagine. And so, of course, he impresses the faculty, and he's, offered admittance, right on the spot. But, like most superhero origin stories, there is an element of tragedy to him. And, the auditorium where they had the exhibition, catches on fire, and his older brother, runs into trying to save one of his professors, and in typical Marvel fashion, the older brother dies, in the ensuing explosion, and which puts him, puts our hero into this kind of depression, and he kind of shuts himself off, um, but just before he dies, his brother showed him like this robot that he created, and it's like one of those, and it's like a healthcare robot. It'll put like Bactine on your cuts and what have you. And so okay, and so one day the robot goes wandering off, and happens upon this facility where you know this facility where it's producing the microbots that Hero had created, and it's come to what is it? What am I trying to say? Man, my summaries really suck. It becomes clear that this person who's making the microbots was the one that stole the microbots in the fire. And so Hero decides to get justice for himself, and what is it? You know, begins
Starts
kind
with
of like kind of yeah. He tries to get justice for his brother, um, but of course he's not alone in this because he has like his brother's robot and also his brother's friends from the university, and they create suits for themselves, and they become a superhero team. Uh, and it kind of follows the almost follows the Avenger arc because it's like these kind of like these individuals come together, and then they like one of their first missions on their first mission is like it's a failure.
Yep.
And they're not able to stop the bad guy, but but at the end they're able to pull it together and able to triumph over the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good summary of what the movie's about. I had because we're gonna do a series of just kind of like random movie reviews until July,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a movie that I have, but I haven't seen it before,
Mm-hmm.
and so I thought, hey, why the hell not? Let's watch Big Hero 6 finally. I think part of the reason why I did that is because they have in the new Kingdom Hearts game, they do have a Big Hero 6 themed world that you go to. So I didn't want to have like no knowledge of what the hell is going on in there.
I see. Okay,
um,
fair enough.
and so I watched it, and it's like uh, I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like I guess maybe a little bit of the superhero kick too that I'm on after watching all the Marvel films that I've seen recently.
I mean,
And
technically, Big Hero 6 is a Marvel movie.
yeah, well, it's like it's just kind of a continuation off of that.
Yeah.
And just yeah, it was just kind of I don't know, I liked it. It was yeah, you had the tragedy. Oh, there was already tragedy in Hero's family because his parents were dead.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he and his brother, they're kind of orphans, even though his brother's like in college. He's a man, but they were
Yeah,
living with their aunt.
and we don't really hear why they ended up dying.
Right.
But
Although I
the
think
fact that
they do say that it was like some sort of accident, maybe automobile
maybe um, who knows if there's ever a Big Hero 6
sequel.
sequel, which
Yeah.
there still might be.
I know, but it's been
Maybe
so
we should.
long in between. But I mean,
Well,
it's like, yeah, I mean, Incredibles finally got their sequel, and it was after like 10 years or so.
right. So who knows? We might get it, but they left it open for a sequel. I'll just say that.
Yeah, they did.
um, but the thing that so there was already that tragedy in the family, and then the fact that his brother, as we see, like is willing to risk his life for the people he cares about. He did it for his brother. Did it for this professor that they all really cared about,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. So and then he ends up dying in the explosion. But there's a little bit of a twist because the microbots that Hero created, um, it brought a lot of interest not only from the university but from a uh, billionaire philanthropist
Yeah,
who
billionaire tech
thought,
guy.
yeah, and it's like, well, listen, you could go to this school if you want, but I'll give you more money than you've ever seen in your life to come work for me.
Right.
And he ended up, I think part of the reason like he ended up not taking the money is because his brother was there and he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be with his brother and his friends. And so when after the Hero discovers that like he thought that all the microbots like had been destroyed, but that they weren't, it kind of everyone's kind of mind is thinking like, oh, it's that guy that couldn't have them. Like it's obviously
Right.
he's the
Yeah.
one who's behind it.
What was it? Alistair Craig.
Yeah, Alistair
Yeah.
Craig.
He's kind of the red herring of this because you think that he was the one that because there was actually a part where he asked to see the microbot and he was like, looking at it and then the professor comes in and like does like kind of like a cock block and it's like, oh, don't trust this guy. And so like he's like, oh well, just think about it, and he walks away and then the older brother is like, hey, that's my brother's. And he's like, oh,
Right.
excuse me. He's like, and he gives it, and he kind of like, he's like, oh, how did this get there? And he like tosses it back to Hero. It's like, so it kind of sets him, it kind of like falsely sets him up, for the audience to think that he's the bad guy.
And yeah, so there was that, which is kind of, and spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen it, but who ended up being the bad guy was actually the professor.
All right, Professor
And
Callahan.
yeah, Professor Callahan, and his story is kind of tragic too. Like you understand, like he,
Right, because when Alistair Cray is making his pitch to Hero, it's Callahan that comes in and like, it's like, oh, Hero, I wouldn't trust him with anything.
right.
And so it's like, wow, this guy really hates this guy's guts for like seemingly no reason. But then we find out later it's because that he like Callahan, Cray, like, and they work together on some like project for the government, basically Stargates.
Yeah.
But it goes a little bit deeper because the test pilot for like this Stargate transportation device was Callahan's daughter, and and they give like kind of like, and they kind of telegraph like something might go wrong because like just before they do the test, it's like, oh sir, there seems to be a fluctuation in the flux capacitor or whatever. And then of course trying to kind of still set it, trying to show the character of Alistair Cray is like, oh well, it's still within the parameters. It's like let's just go on ahead. And so the daughter, Callahan's daughter, gets into the pod and is sent through the one of the portals, but then something happens, and then one of the portal like gate things explodes. And then Callahan was there, and so he blames Alistair Cray for his daughter's supposed death.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how we it's basically the premise of the movie. And were there any like points that like what was something you really liked about the film and maybe something you didn't like about the film, Andy?
I think overall I enjoyed this movie. Um, this movie was total like wish fulfillment for any little kid that wanted their own robot and wanted to become a superhero.
Yeah.
Um, I think I really liked all the voice casting. Um, I believe like the guy who did Hero was perfectly cast. I think it's funny because what's his face, James Cromwell. Who does the voice of Professor Callahan. And those of you who don't know, or that name sounds familiar, or or if you know exactly who I'm talking about, James Cromwell, he has a really long history within sci-fi, and I think the role that he might be best known for is playing Zephyr Cochrane in Star Trek First Contact, where he plays the guy who basically invents warp drive, the first human to invent warp drive.
Yep.
And so yeah, so he voices the professor, the bad guy, the real bad guy. And so yeah, what I didn't like about this movie, Um, I can't really think of anything except for maybe the cheat at the end where the robot Baymax sacrifices himself, but then it kind of like the death is kind of cheated because um, well, like that. Let me set up the death scene. Is um, Baymax has like this scanner because he's a healthcare robot, so he like scans people to check like their vitals or whatever to see like what kind of damn injury that they've sustained. And the climax of this movie is a battle at um, Alistair Cray's headquarters, and then the means to by which to destroy Alistair Cray's headquarters is that second Stargate portal thing. But Baymax, scans and is like, oh, I detect a life sign inside the portal, and so he and the hero go and you know uh, go to save this person, and it turns out that Callahan's daughter is alive, and they're on their way back, but then because this portal was turned on over Alistair Cray's headquarters, a lot of debris was being sucked up into the portal, and so on their flight back towards the portal entrance, they get hit by a big piece of the building, which destroys part of Baymax's flight armor, and so the last resort is that he has rocket fists, and so he's gonna use it to push Hero and Callahan's daughter safely out of the portal, essentially
Right.
sacrificing himself. Um, but it turns out, I mean, I don't know how this happened because uh, uh, Hero inspects the rocket arm and sees that Baymax entire personality chip was secretly hidden inside the glove the rocket fist thing, and so he was able to
Right.
build himself a new body and come back online. But it's like how was he able to function? How is Baymax able to function if his program chip was taken out?
Well, there was still the other chip that Hero had put into him, the battle chip.
Right? But that didn't have any of Baymax's personality. It was just like all filled with fighting techniques.
True. So yeah, that's a little bit of a
Yeah, so that's kind of a plot hole. But then when you're a child, you're probably not thinking about it, and as opposed to a 30-something-year-old man.
right, and that's let's see. Yeah, I like you. I overall I like the movie. Um, just yeah, it was just kind of overall like fun, kind of a it's kind of like I said, this superhero type movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought like the one thing that I thought was a little bit much was the girl with I forget her name now. God, it's so terrible. I literally I just rewatched it today. um, the chick with the that had the speed blades.
Oh yeah, Go-Go.
Yeah, Go Go. Her personality kind of annoyed me a little bit. This
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah, and even and the guy with the black guy,
yeah.
um, his character kind of annoyed me a little bit too.
All right, 'cause
And
he's
no,
such a
it's not because
pussy.
yeah, exactly. That's why. Not because he's black. All right, so people think that like I'm some awful person.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
no,
yeah, there was
that's not the
there was
reason.
that chase scene, and then and like he was in his car, and then he stopped at a red light. It was like during a chase, and then the Go-Go character was like kind of butched up, and it's like kind of like took control and like took him out of the driver's seat of his own car.
Yeah, which is like, yeah.
Yeah,
As
I
a
know, I
kid,
get
that
it.
you're probably, as a kid, you're not gonna like. Well, I think subconsciously you might like see something like that. It's like, stupid boys, like they don't know how to do anything,
Right.
and then you get like bitchy girls, like, you know, when they grow up. But that's, so I didn't like that part very much. But and yeah, I was kind of thinking that this the same thing too with well, how the hell did he get the chip into the rocket fist? It's so there's a few things where, yeah, there's some plot holes. There's some things that like I didn't really enjoy too much. But overall, I thought it was a really great film. Um, yeah, it's one I haven't seen, so yeah, I liked it. It's decent.
Cool. All right. Okay. Ratings time. I'll start off. I'm gonna give
All
this
right,
movie. I'm gonna give the movie a 3.5.
you're going 3.5.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna go. I'm going 3.
Okay.
I felt like it was a good, solid movie. Has some flaws, but overall, definitely one to watch. Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they incorporate this universe into Kingdom Hearts when I finally get there.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm really kind of curious. Oh well. Let me just wrap things up really fast. Oh, so there you have it. That's our review of Big Hero 6. I give it a 3.5. Robert gives it a 3. You watch it for yourself. Let us know what you thought of it in the comment section below.